was listening to the CBC radio one day in the truck, and it stated that a number of philosophers had set up a booth at a subway station so that people going by could ask questions about philosophy. And one of the people that came forward was a 6-year-old girl. And she asked this question: how do I know if I'm real? And that's a pretty profound question for a 6-year-old to ask. How do I know if I'm real? How do you know if you're real? How do you know what is real? What is real? Pilate back in John asked the question, what is truth? These are not sometimes easy questions to answer. Science has for the past number of years implied, if not outrightly stated, that the only things that are really true, really real, are those things you can experience with your senses, that you can see, touch, taste, smell, or feel. Everything else really doesn't exist. And this is really what's been taught in schools for the last number of years. But now philosophers and scientists are beginning to realize that things are not as they used to be and as they appear. I mentioned last week that everything we feel and see is really conditioned reality. It exists because of some other condition. The chair you're sitting on exists because someone made it. You exist because of the food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink. Everything exists because of something else which supplies the conditions for it. And now they're beginning to realize, no news to us, but they begin to realize there has to be, without question, at the beginning of this, a first cause. A reality which is not conditioned, an unconditioned reality which exists without any other conditions. Now this, like I said, for us who believe in God, this is not something new. But for people who don't have that walk, this can be mind-blowing. Because now science is admitting that there is a cause for what we see. And actually, there have been some avowed atheists who have now converted to theists, to Christians, because of this concept. You see, not only do you have an unconditioned reality, but that unconditioned reality has to supply the conditions for all other realities. Which means that that being understands all other reality. In other words, it knows everything. And also that it sets the parameters, the judgments, the laws, which organize and control those other realities. As I said, for Christians, this is not news. But for people who don't believe, it's a breakthrough. So one of the things it does, it has an unconditioned reality. It states it is unconditioned, unquestionable, or unlimited knowledge, and unrestricted intelligence, with no restrictions whatsoever, which, according to science, means it's totally simple. It has no other parameters at all. And that also implies that it provides or maintains or organizes the restrictions and the desires that we have. And there are primarily 5 desires which humanity expresses. One is a desire for a perfect home, or perfect harmony, or perfect peace. Now, we are finite beings, so we can never experience the totality of infinite harmony or infinite peace. We just can't do it. But the Bible states in Romans that we are to live in harmony with one another. Amazing how the Bible precedes science by so many years. The second one is beauty. We are to want perfect beauty. Now, we all like vistas, we all like sunsets, we all like the beauty of the world. We all like the beauty that's in each other. But we're never totally satisfied with that. We always want the better vista, the better house, the better view. There's always something we like to do it a little better because that desire is in us for perfection, which we will never obtain in this world. But God says He has perfect beauty. In Psalm 56 it says, out of Zion, the perfection of beauty God will bring forth. The third is goodness. People feel better when they're good to one another. People feel better when they're good to their spouse, to their children, to their parents, even if in many cases they don't want to admit it. There's a goodness that humanity desires goodness to each other. But again, we won't get perfect goodness until we're on the other side. Because God's goodness is infinite and ours is limited. But He does say in 1 John, he who does good is of God. Number 4 is justice. Everybody wants justice. Even kids. When they do something, they say, that's not fair. They want better justice. We all think that justice is not what it should be. We all know it's not what it should be. And we all strive through multiple laws and regulations and rules to theoretically make it better. We often make it worse, but we strive to make it better. The desire is there to have perfect justice. That just doesn't happen. We can't get justice the way we would like it. And the fifth is love. Love is the ultimate. Because with love, you'd have all the other 4. But it says that we can't have perfect love because, again, we are finite beings. But the Bible says that God is love. The 5 parameters which all of humankind really strive for, but which we can't achieve completely until we're on the other side. So again, what is real? Because all I mentioned are not things you can get out of your senses. But yet they're the parameters which mankind desire most of. The second best-selling book of all time is a book called The Little Prince. It's sold in over 300 countries, thousands and millions of copies. One line in it says this: what is essential is invisible to the eye. What is essential is invisible to the eye. You see, the questions are, what is real? What is truth? The real question is, what is being alive? Ephesians said, you He made alive who were dead through your trespasses and sins. Are you alive? You can exist. You can be real. You can have truth, but are you really alive? This is actually the main question. Are you alive? In Romans 1, 18 to 19. It says, "The wrath of heaven is revealed against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hinder the truth in unrighteousness, because that which is known of God is manifest in them. For God manifested it unto them. For the invisible things of him from since the creation of the world are clearly seen, being perceived through the things that are made." See, the true reality is not what we see, touch, feel, taste, or smell. The true reality is spiritual. It is the invisible things that are essential to our soul. What is reality? Reality is yet to be found by most people. Reality is what makes you from death unto life. Reality is what's coming up in 2 weeks' time.
Amen.
The crucifixion of Christ, the resurrection, and life eternal.
Amen.
That is reality.
Amen.
And that, as Pastor Bob said this morning, is something to think about.